Okay. All right, recording. All right, let me bring up the browser. And bring up. Let's see here. I want to go to Canvas. And see about where we are. Let's see, 210. We are 10. What week is this? 10 is week 7 already? Yeah, it's week 7. Goodness gracious. Time is fun when you're having flies, huh? Yeah. Basically a chapter a week. We skim over some of this stuff so we can talk about things. I do want to talk about a few. Okay, delete a user, change password, lock, unlock, rename groups, add a user to a group. Okay, yeah, that's all really straightforward stuff, not complex. I will show you one little command that comes in handy. Okay. Anybody notice that you have to log into Google all the time now? You know why? It's their day 0 exploits. Day 0 means it's an exploit that nobody knows about, that the bad guys can use to get what they want. And currently, I just erased it, there is one in Linux that is, we need to be careful. It's called glib C, and it's called Looney Tunes. And it is messing up the environment, and it allows people to take over. If they can pop a shell, in other words, if they can get a user account, they can escalate their privileges to be root. And once you're root, you can pretty much do anything you want on a bot.
Where do you go to learn updates like that?
I subscribe to a couple different websites, and they tell me. Also, since I use Ubuntu a lot, I subscribe to their ESM, Extended Security Management thing, and they will automatically patch the boxes. As a user, Joe Average, anybody, they let you do that for 5 machines. So I use it on the Jeremy box and the 2 machines I work primarily on. And then I see what those changes are, and then I roll it out to the classroom. So that's kind of how I do it, because we don't have the money to pay for a service level agreement. And it's not production per se, so we don't technically need to have that level of support for all these machines. Dell will not work on these computers because they're out of warranty. So I have 6 of them in storage that are all ready to go. So if one of these die, I have parts. And I'm very good at doing this sort of, let's keep this thing alive. Let's see here. Where was I going with this?
glibc was just a buffer overflow.
Pardon?
I heard that day 0 was a buffer overload.
Yeah. Yeah, and the buffer load overloads have been around for decades, and it's when you're using C and C++ using malloc and you forget to dealloc. That's 99% of it, which is why there's this what they call static code analysis that runs your source code through an analyzer to see if you have buffer overflows. So this static analysis is usually fairly expensive for, production Google grade type of quality. All right, thank you. But there's lots of tools in the tool chain on that static analysis stuff, okay? So what I'm going to show you here is, let me log in again. I know, you notice I have a Gmail account. Don't use it. I don't use it for anything except logging in and synchronizing my bookmarks and activating my phone. So I will, if you send an email to this, it will probably never get read. Use the school account. All right. So here we go. You are in, if you are following the chapters, you're in week 7, and this is user management of how users are created and deleted. The command that I will show you that I'm sure is part of the stuff is if I want to make one of you a super user. Now on Ubuntu, they make this really straightforward. And I might be able to show it to you on a Linux, on a SUSE box. OpenSUSE is what I'd call more server-centric, like it behaves more like a traditional Unix system. ID. If you use ID, you log in and it tells you what your user ID is. And the user ID is something that gets created for you automatically when you get when I create your account. So your account, if you log into the Jeremy box, either through the Jupyter Lab or from SSH, and type in ID, you're all going to have a different ID. That ID gets tied to a username, and it also gets tied to a group name. Now, notice on SUSE, I'm part of a group users. This is the same as Red Hat. Okay, Red Hat and SUSE, part and parcel the same. Okay. And over here in Jupyter Lab, let me type in exit here. Well, I'll just open another one. Terminal, type in ID. Notice my user is 101 DKP and a group DKP. Now, in Ubuntu and Debian, when we create a user, we create a group that goes with just that user. So to create another user, we have another user group that goes with just that user. On Red Hat, AIX, SUSE, when you create a user, that user goes into the users group. You cannot be a super user on the Red Hat SUSE unless you know the root password. On Ubuntu, you can be an administrator and have root privileges without knowing the root password. That's just a fundamental design change that Debian and Ubuntu had adhered to because their emphasis originally was the desktop with a few users, not a server with quadrillions of users. Red Hat and SUSE, AIX, HPUX are in that camp. Debian and Ubuntu are in the other camp. Now that's just a loose, kind of a, it's not so much applicable today, but it's just kind of a design thing that they did years ago. So let's show you what I do when I create your users. Okay, to give you an idea what happens. And I can make sure I'm on the right box. You will probably learn about this, SU minus. If you, is it in test out? SU minus?
Yeah.
It is? Okay. SU minus means switch user, and the minus sign means adopt that environment. So if I type in su.tux, I have to know Tux's password. And I log in. For all intents and purposes, I am Tux. Okay. I have a different ID, different password. I happen to know the password for this one. So if I type in exit, it takes me back to me. To run as root, I can do sudo su minus. And this is set up. We'll go through a couple of things on this sudo stuff. Okay. I'll get to that in a second. So better make some notes. I'm going to forget what I talk about. Okay. So I'm now the root user. So if I do ID, you can see the root user is always 0, group is 0, group's root. Okay. This means I'm the giver of data. I can do anything on this box I want. Okay. So in this directory called bin, I have a directory or called add users. This is a shell script that I put together that is pretty primitive, but it does the job. What I do is I download your email addresses as a text file and I save it and I put it on the Jeremy box. And then I run this command, which basically says split at the @ sign and give me the first part of your email address. That's your login, right? And then for everybody in that list, run this long, gnarly line and put basically this is the encrypted Linux rocks, whatever it was, 231, right? This is the encrypted one. And then this means bash. Okay, so when you log in, make sure you get bash. And then chmod home. And then I put this in here because this particular command has some problems with the UMask. Remember, we had some fun with UMask and try to get our things to display? Yeah, this is part of it. So as the user gets created, we change the home directory to 755 so your public HTML will work. Okay. When you create a user, there's a whole mess of cool stuff that you can put into their directory when you create them. And that is stored. Now, this is the stuff that may or may not be in test out. It might be. Etsy has that been in there? Okay, probably not. When you add, somebody mailed me something. Let's see who it's from. Oh, look at all that junk. Cute. All right. Notice where I am. This Etsy skill directory. Does this kind of look like your default home directory? Yes. When I use the user add, which is a stripped down, you got to know all the variables. Add user is another version that simplifies adding a user because it wraps a lot of those defaults automatically. Since this is in this directory, the user add program says whatever's in Etsy Skell becomes your home directory. So you get populated with these directories and these files. So if I wanted to change some things for the next year's iteration, I could go in here and change bash RC. I used to do this. See how there's no path statement down here? So I still do that. This is one of the exercises that I give you in the Unix class is create a path statement to put your home directory in it using VI. So everybody trashes their bash RC and they can't log in. And we learn how important it is to learn the very basic few things about VI to get in, edit, save, quit. Okay. So your bash RC will look like this. It's got some aliases built in. But there's no prompt in there. Okay. Nothing fancy. I was going to bring up .funcs tonight. I might do that because it's kind of cool. So all this stuff is in your home directory. So if you change in your public home directory, you have a file called index. Does that look like your default? It is. So I don't have to copy all that stuff into each one of your directories after I create your user. It's part of Etsy Skell, as in skeleton, as in give me the skeleton information that this user is going to need. And this evolves over time. You know, it changes from semester to semester, year to year. Okay. And the command that I do want to show you is called user mod AG, uppercase G. On an Ubuntu box, this is how you can make another user a super user. That's it. Okay. And this one is really handy to know. I'm always forgetting it. Tux SUDO. So I want to make Tux. Yeah. SUDO Tux. I want to make Tux a super user. And this is all that it takes. So I say user mod AG SUDO. What this means is user mod add a group SUDO to the user Tux. And if I hit enter, boom, Tux is now part of the super user group. How do I know? Cat Etsy group. GROUP. Okay. And it shows you all the groups. Okay. And well, I guess it doesn't show you that, but I think I need to go. No. In Etsy group, I guess it lived for OEM. This is one of the things I'm trying to figure out for you guys for multipass. You know what? Could you all log into the Jeremy box? I need to see something.
I couldn't do it on the Jupyter Lab. It kept like freezing and closing, but I could do SSH.
You can do it on this box, but not on the Jupyter Lab.
Yeah, it opened the Jupyter Lab and I did like one command and then I can't open it anymore.
The multipass?
The Jupyter Lab.
Oh, you can't open the Jupyter Lab on this computer.
Yeah, I did a minute ago and ran like one command and then it froze and stopped. And I can't open it.
Oh, okay.
But SSH is good.
All right. But you're in through SSH, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And interesting. Let me check something real quick. Some of these like one day ago. These are all the users, so I can tell folks were here from. So let's see here. What happens if you just log in again? and see what happens. Well, some of these that are hours ago, I can hit stop and reclaim some services. It doesn't really matter if you log out of the Jupyter Notebook, because there's an idle thing that once it gets to a certain age, it's gonna call it anyway. So did it work?
It did for a second, but then it just did like that. For this error code.
This was right after you log in.
Yeah, like if I.
And then it goes crash. Is anybody else having this problem?
Mine is fine.
What is fine?
Yeah, what commands are you running?
Maybe I broke my.
Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. I'll try running with your one. What command are you going?
Firefox is on this machine. I wonder if it's browser. Go ahead and go here and say activity. And click on Firefox. You'll have to click
Oh, I didn't see that.
activity and then type in Firefox. Right there. There you go. And then click on that and then try to see if you get the same problem or not. Because there was just recently a Chrome update that got pushed to all these boxes. But anybody else have the same problem? Where it says oh snap when you try to log into Jupyter Notebook from Chrome? All right. So we might have a machine issue or not. So we'll see.
It's fine. They're on phone fine.
So everybody, okay.
I do that machine.
All right.
They use.
Where was I going? That's you deal.
Yeah,
User mod.
that's what I'm. We'll both the entire company. You're using.
Let's see, go. What was I talking about? I just had a Etsy group and then
I'm trying to find cuts, I think. You were trying to find cuts, I believe? Yeah, you were trying to find tux in the list of group.
oh, list of groups, that's right. Okay. So let me show you this way. If I type in ID, this shows you all the groups I'm a part of. That's the SUDO group. Now, if you type in ID on yours, it'll show you all the groups you're logged in as. This is where I was going with this, is that we were talking is that multipass, I don't know if I've got it installed. I do want to install it. The advantage of being the admin of your own box is you can do stuff like this. The disadvantage is when it goes down, there's nobody around to help you. Like our new instructor wants to install some stuff on the machines in the lab. And he won't get access to it till November. And I said, let's come up with a different plan. Okay. Oh, I spelled it wrong, didn't I? No, it is all okay. So I do snap list. This may be in test out, but it's probably not. But there's something called Flatpak and snaps and what's the other one that's used on Windows 2? It's a way to package a program so it doesn't matter what operating system you're on. And you can do this snap and put it on Windows, Mac, or Linux, and it just works. Flatpak is another name, but Snap is what's used by Ubuntu. Okay, you notice we have a Snap for Rust and a Snap for Multipath. Now that you're logged in, I want you to try this multipass and then what's what do I need? I forgot the line. I wrote it down on it. Start instance alias. Find. Yeah. Type in multipath launch. And tell me what you see if it's working or not.
Is that launch failed? The client is not authenticated with the multipass service.
Not authenticated.
Yes.
Okay. So type in multipass authenticate. Pardon?
It asks for a passphrase that Brian.
Yeah. It can be anything for that passphrase. It'd be yours.
Oh,
Where did I write that down? No, I didn't write it down here.
like there's a username.
Let me see what the questions are.
Sure.
I think multipass is gonna work for you guys. Where you can create an individual. Yeah, the passphrase can be anything you want, just don't forget it. Maybe use the Linux Rocks 231 password or. Your last name, and I don't really care, just if you forget it, I can't do anything except delete multipass for you, you have to restart it.
Passphrase is not set.
They'll not set. With a trusted client.
Is that because we're on the guest account on the actual box?
Pardon?
We're not logged in on the actual box itself, we're just on the guest.
No, you want to be on the German box.
Yeah, like in the SSH, but then on this itself. Like when I first log into the computer.
Yeah, this won't work on. These machines because multipass is not installed on these particular machines. I just installed multipass on the Germany box. I'm working on trying to get this to work. Let me tell you why. What this does is it will give you the ability to have your own virtual machine. And your shell account on the Jeremy box. So you will have a Ubuntu instance that's on the Jeremy box that's yours to control. You can be root. You can add users. There will be problems with networking. Okay, so at the moment, we're going to just do one. But there's some implications on the authenticate that I have to figure out again. Try that command. Just set multipass. Yeah, multipass set local passphrase. Just like it says, multipass space set local dot passphrase. Oh. Let's see if it gives you an error again. Okay, put in whatever you want. Yeah, okay. And then it said, and then if you do multipass authenticate, type that in. It's gonna give you that. Yeah, it's gonna give you the same error. Okay. I'm gonna figure this one out. What I don't know is, do you need super user privileges to fire up the multipass instance? That's what I'm trying to figure out. So if you folks want to go learn about multipass and come back and tell me, I would appreciate it. But think of multipass as KVM, like I showed you how KVM worked, but with a really nice wrapper where you type in multipass launch, boom, there's your new instance, but there's no X. So it's only TTY stuff. Okay. I will figure that one out. And it may be something that I have to set up for each one of you, and then it goes through and does now.
Multi-pass itself generally needs to run with admin privileges failed to use the hardware features. I'm looking at the.
On Windows, okay, so it does need.
That's Windows.
I wonder if it's just for the authentication part. Because if I can run through your usernames and authenticate you all, that would allow you to launch an instance, that would be enough. Because I haven't spent a lot of time with it. I just got it working and I got, wow, this is pretty slick, pretty easy. And notice it created one for me. It's called Eternal Dalmatian. It's just a random generated dictionary set of words. It's a verb noun type thing. So if I type in multipass list, there it is. But I'm also the super user, and I'm also part of libvirt. So maybe you need to be part of libvirt. I don't know, as a group ID. But notice I get an IP address. This is internal only. This is, you're not going to be able to do much with this other than talk to it. So I can, and then I'll walk through how to connect and do things as we move down this, because this would be kind of nice to be able to give you a VM that's on the Jeremy box to teach you multipass, because multipass on a server box would also give you everything you need for VMware without having to go buy a bunch of stuff on VMware. KVM will also work, but KVM requires SUDO privileges to author a machine. Okay. The days of shared hosting like this, days are numbered. Because if you look at Linode, they don't do shared hosting. They give everybody a virtual machine and call it done. Okay, do with it as you see fit. Now there's 10,000 virtual machines all over the place. So anyway, I'm off topic. Let's get back on topic. All right. Type in today. TODAY. Does it work?
No.
No. The question is, why? What's going on with my account and it doesn't work for you?
Don't you have like you have set like shortcuts?
Bingo, aliases.
Yes.
Aliases. We are going to do that. And we are also going to do something called functions. And the function idea works like this. I call it funcs. Okay. And I have a couple of them. This one is Xclip. It allows me to cat things into my X Windows clipboard, save them, go to another computer, SSH in, paste them. So I don't have to transfer a file. It's just allowing you to cut and paste. Okay, that's very handy. Although with the newer terminal emulators, they do the same thing. They work mostly okay, but sometimes you get some weird escape sequences. Okay. But what we will be doing are these ones right here. W header and W footer. So if I type in WHDR and WFTR, what am I doing here? Okay. These are part of my functions. Anybody know HTML? Yeah, this is it. The system administrator's favorite HTML keyword is free, which means whatever's there, display it, please. Don't do anything different. Okay. So if I type in who, how about I make a web page out of that? Yeah, there we go. We gotta start. Well, let's do that. I'm going to create a web page. I should probably do this under Tux, because Tux, his website works, my website doesn't. So if I go to public HTML here, clear. Now, as we've learned, this will only be our SSH user. Right? Now let's see if Tux has it. WHDR. Oh, W footer. Oh, bummer. But we're gonna have to fix it.
Quick question.
Yes.
You were typing in public HTML, you type it like halfway and then you press something and it filled it.
Tab.
Thank you.
Tab expansion. And if you type in something like change directory P and hit tab, and there's more than one directory that starts with P, it gives you an option.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so what I have to do is create my functions so I can load them. Are we ready? So do two things as we walk through this process. Follow along with the keyboard and write down the same steps. Because there's going to be enough steps that we're going to forget a few. Okay. We start with bash RC. So vi.bashrc. Everybody is now a registered VI expert, right? No worries. Okay. Notice I have this line that says bash aliases. What does this mean? This says if square bracket is actually the word test, that way, this one means nothing. So I could rewrite this, if test minus F, leave that bracket out. That'll work. So if test dash F means, does this file exist? If so, dot, remember what dot is an alias for? Ancient history. Source, yes, source. Source my dot bash alias. Okay. I happen to have a dot bash aliases file, and you might too. I don't know what's in it. But what we are going to do is copy these three lines, and we are going to change this from bash to dot funcs, F-U-N-C-S. Okay. So in the world of VI, I do for YY, P for paste. And then I go up to bash aliases and type in CW FUNCS and go here, and I do the same thing with a dot.
You lost me.
You can get very fast with VI. I'm sure I lost everybody. Basically, you're adding 4 lines to your bash RC. And these are the 4 lines you're adding. If test, it looks just like bash aliases, and a blank line. That's the 4th line. That's easy. Okay. Now you can also edit this in your Jupyter Lab using the text editor. Okay. So we'll hold up there for a few seconds. This is a way to have my function file that I had at Foster Farm was probably 4 pages long, printed out, that I had developed over many years using Corn Shell. on the AIX boxes. But all of those commands don't work on Linux because it's not an AIX box. But nevertheless, I'm showing you how to create a library that you can take with you as you move from company to company. Okay. And we will be adding the HTML header footer thing to this file. Okay. I'll show you how it all works. Everybody get that so far? We're good. Some of you are going, I don't want to use VI. I'm terrified. I'm going to break something. Well, break it anyway. I'll help you fix it. Maybe. Or you can also use the editor in the lab. If you go over here, scroll down, you can say text file. And what you can do is you can actually mouse around to where your text files are. Does it show you hidden files? I can't remember if it does or not. Doesn't look like it does. View. Show. File browser. Doesn't look like it's going to let you do that. That's all right. You need to learn VI anyway. If you want to use Nano, it's out there. It's called No Nano. I renamed it. Okay. So you can use Nano if you want. So if you have you're doing the lab and it doesn't work right, there is Nano out there. It's just renamed. Okay. So this is in Bash RC. Bash RC, we added, did I hit record? Yes, I did. Okay. All right. So there it is. All right. Now what I want to do, save and exit. Now I want to edit something called funcs. Okay. And this format is very simple. It simply starts with the name of the function that you want. We're going to call it W as in web header. Okay. And here's how it works. And then there's a space. And now we type in our HTML line. Echo, single quote. And then you put a close quote, or if you have squirrely brackets or parens, you can do Shift 5, whoops, in escape mode or in command mode, and it bounces back and forth between your pairs to make sure you have your pairs lined up. And then I'll say, it'll be a footer. This is definitely outside the scope of Testo, but this is practical. I think I'm going to put a space there just to keep it So it looks a little nicer. And then the end of the file. And it doesn't need anything at the top. It can just be right like that. Okay. And for grins and giggles, we can add some fun stuff in here. Let's add another one. Today is simply date. And then I'll say plus percent Y, percent M, percent D. Okay. So today simply prints century, year, month, day. That's it.
What VI file are you in right now? Thank you. Oh, what? Oh, the one.
So
that we
in Bash RC, we added test for FUNCF.
added.
Now we are editing this file and we're putting a couple of things in there. We're putting in W header, W footer, today, yeah. And one more called now. And it looks like this. Now. And yeah, the convention is to use a single quotes around this. Long explanation, bash and quoting gets to be one of the dark arts in the world of Linux. Percent Y. Oh, guess Y. And then percent M, percent D. And then we put in the hours. And then we put in the minutes. And then we put in the seconds.
Is the capital H 12-hour or 24-hour?
H is hours, minutes and seconds.
Does it use like the 12-hour system or the 24-hour?
In this case, it is the 24, I think. Once we're done, we'll find out. We'll see. We'll see. The other way to do this, if you know all you need is something that's going to give you at least a second of granularity, you can use date. How many remember that one? Yep, number of seconds since January 1st, 1970. Okay, that's all that gives you, which comes in handy, but then you have to convert it back to human readable so you can kind of have an idea when it is. Okay, so for the sake of our little exercise, this is what we got. Okay. Oh, tux. So it's funks. Now, if I type in today, not found. What do I need to do to make it all work?
Need to source it.
Source it. Bingo. Source. Let's source bash RC and go back to the beginning. Miracles. Angels sang. And you're all lost. I get it. What did I do? I went to bash RC and I added 4 lines. Those 4. Which says if this file exists, source it. That's all it says. Okay. And then in that file, those are the 4 things that I put in there. Okay. So now we have an HTML crash course. How does this work? W3 Schools is a great way to get started on HTML. W3 Schools is phenomenal. If you know absolutely nothing about a technology, it's a great place to start. I know nothing about cascading style sheets. Go to W3 Schools because they start at a really basic level and they kind of walk you through some fairly advanced stuff, not tremendously advanced. There's better stuff out there if you want to get really deep, but for getting started, you can't beat W3 School. Basically, HTML is just kicking out these codes to make your website look nice. Okay, and I will do it here. HTTP amkll.org 80 Toby Fox. Oh, be nice if I could type. There. Cheap web page. Right click, view page source. There it is. Doc type, HTML head. I leave the character set out because I don't care. Title, head, body, and all this other stuff I don't care about. And then here's a pre-tag. And then there's the close tag. Okay. Now, where are we going with this? You know that who command I showed you? We are going to create a web page from that who command. Okay. Basically by typing in W header, who, W footer into a new HTML page. And that's it. Really simple. And you're all thinking, oh, this is too much, too fast. Don't worry. Just keep at it. Come by and see me. I'll walk you through it. I have the patience of Job. It's just, don't worry. What we're doing is going through things fairly quickly to give you this kind of overview of how things fit together. And also giving you a few little things that you use in industry that you're not going to learn in test out. Okay. Like job stuff. This I use almost every day at Foster Farms because they always wanted to see pretty graphs on the website. So I had these tools that would generate memory usage and IO stat and all this other stuff. And it'd turn it into graphs and it'd save it off as a picture. And I'd throw it into a web page and they were all happy because they could click on a button and see pretty graphs. They had no idea what they were looking at, but it was all green. They were good. So did it change from time to time? Yeah. Let's see, it's Friday. I think I'll make it look red. Yeah, I didn't do that really. But that's the kind of thing that you get. Okay. So now that I have those, I can type in W header. Whoops. There it is. Okay, watch what happens here. I'm going to my public HTML. I'm going to create a new web page. I'm going to call it W header redirect to who HTML. Now I want to run the who command and append it. This you will get in test out. This you do need to know. What's the difference between 1 and 2? 1 is whatever's there, trash and open it again. 2 means append. If it's there, add to it. If it's not there, create it. The who.html. W footer. Now, are we ready to look at this magic web page?
Yeah.
Really, really simple. Let's make sure, we'll see what happens here. Why? Come on, folks, tell me. What's the problem? What's the problem? UMask is wrong for this directory. What do I need for something on the web? Yep, I need
CHMON.
yeah. So I need 5. Actually, that should have worked, but let's see what is index works and no. Let me see if no works. Go.txt. .html. Oh, there it is. That looks terrible. Oh, it's under view source. I need to turn off view source. Oh, I know why.
What do you do?
Look real close. Use your binoculars from way in the back of your telescope. There, she says JFK hub. That means I'm on the SSH side.
Oh.
Oops. I need the port 80 side. So HTTP jmkll.org/tilde TUX/who.html. And just to make sure, I'm going to put in a :80 on the domain name to really tell it to go to port 80. There we go. There's my web page. View page source.
Not the keyword.
Look familiar? What we just created. Now, if I take the pre-tag off, this turns into one giant long line. And it gets hard to read. HTML does not care about white space. So if you have white space that needs to be part of your display, you need the pre-tag. Otherwise, it won't display correctly at all. The other way you could do this, although your boss probably won't like it as much, is this. Let's say who to whoon.text. .txt can be configured whoon.txt. Got to go back and change it to the port 80. HTTP. That's kind of a drag. I really need to get the reverse proxy working correctly. Looks kind of the same, doesn't it? Now, if I do right click, view page source, there's no HTML headers, is there? So if you know text is all you need, because it's a great way to keep notes in pure text files. Because I can tell you this, I have had note-taking tools since the 80s. You know how many times I've had to export and import? Countless. You know what I finally gave up and did? Is I store all my notes in flat text files. And I use a naming convention of my directories and folders so I can always find what I'm looking for. That's not something you just do day one, but keeping things in text means you can always read them. It doesn't matter if you're on Windows, Mac. Doesn't matter if you have a web browser or not. As long as you got a text editor, and Vi almost always works.
Would this be the same with a PDF? Like, could you load a PDF?
You could. Let's do that. Let's do exactly what you said. Let's save this to a PDF. What's the default printer on this box? Print PDF. So if I say who vertical bar LP, it just shoved it into a PDF file in where? My PDF directory. All uppercase. There it is. Now, I won't be able to display it here because it says no X, right? But how am I going to display it? Wait a minute. I got this really cool thing over here. Right? Go here. Let's go to my PDF directory. Except, am I on the right?
You're in.
Is this the right one? It's there. It's not showing up here. Whoops. PDF. I got a feel. Oh, I think I'm in the wrong directory here. Oh, I know why. ISU Tux. I'm actually logged in as DKP. This is the DKP directory.
It's like the outside.
Yeah. So, are you lost from where you are? From where we are? Yeah, because I'm lost. Okay. So what I did is I logged in on the Jupyter Notebook as DKP, and then I did SU minus to log in as Tux. And then I printed. So it's in the Tux directory, not the DKP directory. But that's okay. I just need to move that PDF to public HTML. Let's do that. So let's move FTDN to ~/ and I'm just going to call it who on.pdf. And let's change directory to public. Take a look at it. Who on PDF. And just do LR. Oh, LR doesn't work. That's LS minus LTR1. No, it's TR1. So there it is. So who on PDF? Go back to here. Who on .pdf. But let's put in the :80 and the HTTP to make it work. Who on PDF? Let's make sure I have the right permission. Read write.
Oh, no,
Ooh,
PDF
ooh.
is up one.
Yeah.
There.
Will that display on the web? No. So what do I need to do? I can do chmod. Let's go 666. I think all you need is 644. Let's try it. Who on PDF? Oh, 644. Let's see if 644 works. And yeah, that's what I was afraid is happening. You do have to go in and fix that every time. That's irritating. Anybody know how to set up an Nginx reverse proxy server? Tux who on.pdf. Yes, as long as the permissions are right. So when you, at one time, I configured this box to print to PDF right into the public HTML. The problem was the configuration of cups created a circular directory. And I ended up with about 1,900 directories under every single user that was PDF, 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 PDF. So there was a recursive loop in the tool that printed to PDF that I wasn't about to debug. I said, no, this isn't my problem, and I know this ain't worth it. So that's why we have the PDF directory, and you just drag it, change permissions, you're there. The other way around it is change the UMask, and then it goes in there and has the right UMask. But anyway, but yes, PDF works too. The advantage of PDF is it makes it a little harder to get text out. Sometimes you want that, sometimes you don't. I usually find myself taking my notes and putting them into script files and then running it as a script file. And we'll get to how to do that. Okay. So what have we just done tonight? Well, we did a little bit of SUO. I showed you user mod -a uppercase G sudo tux. That's how you add a user or add a user to the super user group. I showed you Etsy Skell. When you do a user add or add user, it brings all that over. I showed you .bashrc and .funcs and how to create a web page from the output of a file. Now let's make that a little bit slicker. Okay. One of the things that you will learn and test out is called cron, which stands for, forget what it stands for, but pardon?
Chronological?
Chronological, yeah, time-based. It's a time-based way to get stuff done. So let's do something fun. Okay. And let's see here. This will work. So we want to use fortune. There you go. There's fortune, man. Okay. So what I want to do is in my directory bin, I'm going to create my own message web page thingy. Okay. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to create a script that I can test to see if it gives me a fortune. And then I'll set it to run, I don't know, every hour. Okay. And then I'll get a new message every hour. Okay. And some of you might fat finger this and the machine will die. So have fun. I'll figure it out eventually. Okay. Now, cron generally puts safeguards around things. But the way it works is you type in cron tab -L and it shows you if you have an existing cron tab. This is right out of test out. Okay. I know this is in test out. There are other ways to do such things. There's an @ job, which means run once. That's it. Don't do it again. I've rarely used @ in all my years. I've used cron a lot. Systemd makes things a lot easier. At Foster Farms, my cron jobs on some of the production boxes were, oh geez, 5 to 8 pages long of everything that the machine would do from the time it booted. You know, things were weekly, sometimes things were every 3rd week of the month, sometimes it was every Friday afternoon, sometimes it was every midnight. So you have, that's what cron does, it's lets you set it up by time. So let's start by creating our script that is going to give us our message of the day on the web. So we'll call it, I don't know, web mess. Okay. So let's do this. VI make web MSG. How's that? Make WMSG or MESG. Shebang, bin, bash. And make web MESG. Then I want to run a few things. Let's do it this way. And we will call it,
We don't put tux, we put our.
what?
We don't put tux, right? Or do we? Tux? We put tux.
Home. So yeah, you put your own username. Don't use Tux. Yeah. Because you won't have right privileges. So use your own login name. Web underscore MESS message, I guess. .html. And then I'm going to show you this funny, goofy syntax. See those parens right there? I can write this particular piece of code. W header. Fortune. W footer. Okay. Let me show you how I can write it. Now, other than the parentheses, which I'll take out, what's my typo?
We didn't put double arrows, so.
Bingo. What this is saying is create a new file and put web header in it. This line says create a new file and put the fortune in it, overriding everything else. This says create another new file and put the web footer in it. I need this. Append and append. This will work just fine. Okay. But I want to use this syntax to show you it exists. And I really doubt this is in Testo. This is kind of a bashism. What this means is run these commands and take the output of all of them and stack them into that file. A little cleaner to look at. I can also do this. You know, if I was to be a, I don't want to do it that way. I would just do it this way. The carriage return is significant here. So you do need the carriage return. Okay. So that would work. But when I've been using this syntax, I make it very obvious that I am using this syntax by putting the parens all by themselves. Okay. So now I chmod this. And I run it. What do you mean? It's there. But it's not. source it, this file. Source seems to be the answer of the night, huh? So I can do it a couple of ways. I'm gonna do it the easy way, source. And then I say home, DKP, whoops, tux. Dot UNCL. Okay. This makes sense? Because I now have the file, but now this file has those functions that I built in. And I'm sourcing it, so now it should work. If it doesn't, well, we'll debug the next thing. Nope, no errors. Now let's look at public HTML. Oh, there it is. So now we can cat the file. There it is. Okay, it looks like it might work. But what do I need to check? UMass. Right? Darn. Read, write, read, write, read. That should work. So let's go back over here. Oh boy. HTTP l.org :80/tilde tux. What do I call it? Web message, duh. Yeah. There you go.
Because this is HTML, do you have to put the .html?
The what?
The .html at the end of your URL?
In this case, yes, because the default, if I leave it blank, it goes to the index.html. If I want to go to a specific page that is not linked off of the main page, I need to declare it specifically. That makes sense? Great. There it is. Stupid elephant jokes. Yeah. So.
Why didn't it show up like that?
What? Of
Why didn't it show up like that?
course it didn't. Every time you run Fortune, you're going to get a different Fortune from the cookie file. And there's about 10,000 different Fortunes. And then I've added a few over the years because I happen to like the humor of Steve Wright or Stephen Wright. So now we have it. It's ready to go. Now what?
Yes.
Now,
So redirecting this issue with like.
Would you like to get on our next student? Or would you like?
let's make it work. Okay. How often should we make it run? How about once a day? That'll be good. So we know the name of the file is web message. Okay. And we know where it lives. But what do we need to do in cron? We want to rerun this, right? So it gets a new Fortune once a day. That makes sense? Okay. And cron is definitely going to be in test out. So this is very simple. Well, once you know it, cron tab -E for edit. And then it says, what do you want to edit it with? Well, of course, I want them. Okay. And then basically what you have are 5 stars. That means run something every second of every day for every month, for every year, from now until eternity. So don't use 5 stars. Okay? So the way it works is at 5 a.m. every week. So at 5 a.m. So this is basically minutes after the hour. This is the hour. And this would be the week. And then I think this is like month, day, year. Here we go. Minute, hour, day of month, day of week, and command. So you can run something only on Sunday, okay, or only on Friday. In our case, we only want to run it, let's say, I don't know, 18 and 12. 8, 12, 20. Star. Home, tux. Bin, MK, web, and ESG.
We'll run every 20 minutes.
This will run at 20, basically 8 o'clock. Add 12 to 8, 20, 24-hour clock. Okay. And then this runs a script. And then in cron, let's see if I've got some. No, I don't have it there. Yeah, we can do that. This will work. Okay. But here's something I would recommend you would add to your best practices / CYA so you don't get yourself in hot water is how do you know it ran? Well, let's go to the website and see if we got a new message. What if that didn't work? I don't know. So this is what I would recommend is what you do is here. Come on, fingers. We're going to create a log file. And I like using the term logs because I have more than one log file in my logs directory. That's a Rubyism. If you're working with Ruby, they force you to use plural for table names. Okay. Logs, and I will call it make web MESG. And then I'm going to use this funny looking gnarly syntax. Now let's think about this for a second. My script worked great, didn't it? And it created an output to where? A disk file. Did it create any output to the screen? So when I run this and I create a log file, what's going to be in it? Nothing. It's just going to have a date stamp on it of when it was created. So let's put a .log at the end of that. So I know that it's there. Couple other things I need to check. I need to make sure I have a logs directory. And I should probably put something in my log file that says it ran, success, done, something. Right? So let's backtrace into that. Okay. Installing new cron. Do I have a logs directory? No. I should probably create one. Logs, okay? So let's look at my make message web. How about right here, I say echo done. And then up here, since I source my wonderful things here, how about today? Right?
And there's just this previous thing that you got. Well,
But this today is going to display to my screen.
can you go back down to what you added at the bottom?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if my proposition behaves itself. Okay. So I'm sourcing my functions that has today, W header, fortune, and W footer in it. And when I run this script, it creates a fortune and creates a web page. I've put it into cron to run it at 8 o'clock, which is about 3 minutes away. Go ahead, save. So let's see what happens if I just run this by itself. Oh, cool. That's what is going to be in my log file. If everything runs on time. But the date is not 24 hours, is it? The date is AM PM. No. Mandate. See if I can figure out. I forget the flag for the 24-hour. %hour.
Sign R.
You have to yell louder.
Sign capital R.
What?
Sign capital R, no?
R.
Capital R.
Right? Oops. Yeah, man, won't work. 2001. All right. Let's see if I got it fast enough. Oh, looky there. At 2001, it ran on 1010. Now, would you suggest I use, instead of today, use now? Because then I could get it down to the granular second. That depends. That's up to you. Usually a flag like this, because I can tell when it ran at 2001, and I can see it ran on that day and it said done. So that means I know 2010 was at the top of the script and done was at the bottom of the script. I know the script completed. So there's the logic behind all this stuff. Okay. Now, you all do this all over again on your computer, since I've shown you everything. So now you get to practice to do it. So what do? We created functions and we put it in our home directory. And we created a logs directory. We created a cron tab. We added this stuff to the cron and we used some trippy looking cron tab -L, which means list. A practice that I got into the habit of many years ago was this. And then I would give it the date. So cron tab minus L. Oh, there's no at Arch directory. Well, let's fix that. Arch for archive. So I would do this because now in my Arch directory. I have a backup of my cron. When your cron is 15 pages long and you trash it, oops. Restore from your previous backup. Backup? What's a backup? How many of you back up your stuff? Yeah. Some of you been bit and you lost everything. That's why we back up. If you haven't been bit yet, you will. Okay. All right. But having a backup of your cron is just something that if it gets real complex, it's good to have. Okay. All right. All right, let's start up here at the top. So what we do? We added bash RC. We created .funcs. And we put in those 4 functions. These guys showed you that they worked. We sourced them. We created a Who web page. And I showed you that a TXT file works just as fine if you know your audience. Like if you know you're going to be, like personally, when I rebuild the Jeremy box, I save all my script files as .txt files. I put them out on my public space and I take that file, copy it, paste it, run it. Save myself a lot of time. And I showed you that the default printer for the PDF, that is chmod a bunch of things. Moved it, PDF worked. Got to change the permissions. Fortune, cron tab, created the make message script in the bin directory. And then we put it all together. So I created 2 directories, one called logs and one called arch, so I could save things. And what I will do now is cat.funcs, so you know what that looks like. There, let me do that on a different box. Let's do it like this. Let me go to okay, here is one. This is the .funcs file. And let's minimize that and go here and go here. This is the bin directory. Click over here. Click. It's not going to take it because it's not in focus. Well, isn't that just peachy? Okay. Now it should work. Jeez, gotta click on the title bar. Nope. Hmm. All right, so there's the functions and there's the bin. And let's go. And this is the cron tab, which is just that bottom line. That's the only thing we added. Is that one line at the bottom. Now, this syntax we will get into later. But what this is saying is take standard error and standard out and redirect both to my log file. So if there's an error, or if there's even, and if there's any output, take both the error and the output and put it into the log file. This can make log files very messy if you have errors and you've got a long running process or what have you. On my AIX boxes, I always separated these two out because I wanted a dot out so I could see what was happening with the script. And then I wanted a dot error so I could actually troubleshoot it effectively. Because we had scripts that were running 30 times a minute and some that were close to, I would say close to 10,000 times a minute. So the logging got to be pretty critical because you wanted to be able to see what was going on in near real time. So we had all sorts of checks and balances in there. Because when we had to move the files from point A to point B, we'd create a tag file. I'm sending you a file. I got it. It'd come back and read the tag file, and that'd be part of the logging. File sent, tag sent. That means it got both of them. If one of them was missing, we knew there was an error somewhere up the food chain. These same ideas are still around. They still do the same thing. That's all. You just put it in the cloud now. And Nginx, one of the web servers, has put an entire WASM stack inside of it. Imagine LibreOffice compiled to WASM in your browser. That's where it's going. You won't need an operating system. You'll just not need a fat credit card to pay for all the, oh, I need to get to this site and to that site and to that site. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. So how many people brain is kind of like melting right now? Your earwax melting coming out of your ears. Sign of a good night. Yeah. That's like, come back, come see me, make an appointment. We can figure something out. Because if you get through test out, you will survive the class. Okay, that's simple. You get through test out, you'll survive the class. You get through test out and you pass the Linux Plus. That's going to get you an interview. The stuff I'm teaching you is going to help you get the job. Okay, so it's all kind of staged together.
Interview where exactly?
That depends on where you want to go. Because if you want to stay in the area, maybe not. Linux and cloud and provisioning, major metropolitan areas.
Do you have any connections?
Hmm?
Do you have any connections?
I do. But you must update your LinkedIn and your GitHub. So your GitHub has to have some cool stuff in it and show people you know how to use Git, because that's a job skill. One of the things that I put out on the website, let me find it, is there's a bunch of stuff in this category that is not taught in school. Let's see here. I didn't put it out here. Well, shame on me. Let me go back. And I know I put it in this one. Ah, yes, it's right here. So I will make sure this link is in the 210 one. This missing semester of CS. Okay. Things you know to need to get a job / keep the job. I would say keep the job. And the folks that put this together, comes from CSAIL at MIT. They had students coming in with all these great credentials. They couldn't do crap because nobody taught them. This is what you got to know for being out there. Course overview in the shell, shell tools and scripting, editors, data wrangling, command line, Git, debugging and profiling, metaprogramming, security, and potpourri of questions. As you can see, this is just goes for 1 month. That this is stuff you're not explicitly taught, but you are expected to know. If you want a degree to get you a job, it ain't going to happen. Not in this business. You need to know somebody. That helps more than anything. Have a track record of proof. That helps. And in the absence of experience, certifications help. They're not a panacea, but they do help. Okay. And the way this has been structured is that these were students that were coming in, say like from high school and maybe a junior college, the new Windows, but had never seen a command line. Well, everything for the cloud is command line. You know, Puppet, Chef, Ansible, it's all command line driven. It's all driven by scripts. So you got to understand how scripts work. That's what we're doing with Bash. I'm bashing you with Bash. I want to see you go out there and make a ton of money. Come back and make a donation. Okay. Okay. Doesn't go to me, it goes to the future students. Okay. Because when I leave all this wonderful equipment, I can't take with me. I'm finagling a way to have access so I can still maintain things. I don't know how that's going to work. May not, but that's my goal. Is because I know nobody on campus wants to do this. And I'm doing it for free. And this is, I put together the hours and I go, geez, this is like $100 an hour out there. You know, I'm going to charge them $20 an hour. Just so I can say, hey, yeah, I'm doing this. So I don't know what kind of verbiage, the appropriately vague language I need to request a stipend to get it in place for the next person that comes along. Because if the stipend is reasonable, somebody might take it on. But I kind of doubt it. So, like that machine back there, number 13. Could be a bad network card. Just scout one of my machines. Swap the CPU. That's what we did tonight. Now, you have a few minutes to tinker with this stuff. And I'm debating if I want to give you a few bash labs, but I think I will give you one or two. Just so you can have a feel for bash and what you can do with it. I would like to make sure dialogue works correctly on the Jeremy box. So you can have fun with the Days Alive script using Days Alive, using dialogue. And then we'll create some log files. And if I have my way, we'll each time we do it, we'll be adding stuff to it. And one of the last things we would add is the log file goes to an SQLite database. And then the SQLite database could render a web page. Because SQLite has a HTML tag. You say, select from where .html, out comes your stuff in an HTML table. All you do is need to wrap it with header and footer, and you're ready to rock and roll. Isn't that slick? Automated website. So that would be kind of cool. Okay, so we'll see how that plays out. I don't want to lose everybody. I want you to feel successes, but we're going quick.
Ideally for the certification, how much test out material do you have to retain?
All of it.
All?
Yeah, because the problem with the test out is the test, the CompTIA Linux Plus test is one of the harder tests in their stable. Linux Plus, Network Plus, I've had students take the textbook that was called Networking Plus by Tamara Dean, work through the textbook and pass. But what did they do every day? They were a network engineer. Okay. So if you're not in it every day and exploring the underneath the covers and figuring out how X works and how does this routing work? Because there's questions about networking and subnets on the Linux test. That's a networking question. Well, Linux is used as routers. It runs Cisco's, it runs, Netgear, it's all Linux kernels. So if you pass, because they give you practice tests, and they give you a practice test by section. And then I think they give you 2 complete practice tests, or 1, I can't remember. And then you get 1 free shot at the Linux Pro. If you pass the Linux Pro with an 85% or greater, you're going to pass the CompTIA Linux Plus.
Okay, so the test
Because the Linux Pro is just a smidge bit harder than the Linux Plus on CompTIA. It uses more scenario-based questions, and scenario-based questions are based off problems that you have to reason through, not multiple choice. Make sense? Yeah. So it's definitely worth it to get, I will say. People say, oh, I want to get the A+. Why? You want to be the guy that changes the CPUs out? No, I want to be the guy sitting in the computer room that got his fingers on everything. I don't want to be the guy running around changing out monitors. But some jobs require A+, because it's a good entry level that you're not going to plug something in wrong and blow it up. Okay. Same with networking. Security Plus, I don't recommend until you get Network Plus, because it's got a ton of networking in it. I've had one student pass the Security Plus, then he went back and did Network Plus. He says, I was really dumb. I should have done the Network Plus first. Because once he did the security and went back for the network, he said, it wasn't that hard. But again, you have to learn the voicing of the questions. And with the test out, all of their stuff, when you buy one as a student, you can buy any other one at the same price as a student. And unlike ZY books that I use in my programming classes, You rent them online for 1 semester. These are good for 18 months. So if you don't feel like you're ready for the Linux Plus, after this class is over, you have another 12 months to study. You just have to make sure you get a login to their site because Canvas won't be around. So you can't log in through Canvas. Okay.
I did take the PC Pro one.
Which one?
The PC Pro.
How was it?
It was a little,
It was, did you pass?
yeah,
Yeah. Was it harder than you thought it was going to be?
a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, I still passed it. I
And
never got a certificate for that. Were they supposed to provide me one
a certificate for,
for passing it?
yeah, you get it from Test Out. You don't get it from us.
Oh, from test out. Oh.
Yeah. You just say, hey, I passed. Give me my give me my badge so I can put it on LinkedIn. Yeah. Okay. And some of these other ones like Cyber Defense Pro and Ethical Hacker Pro, those are serious time.
Oh, hacking is really.
You really have, yeah, I would say if you know you want to do the security side, you know you want these, don't take any other classes and just spend 6 months or 3 months just buried in stuff. That's just because some of this stuff, there's just so much, and if you don't have a playground to work on it, you have to force it into memory. And we're all great at memory, right? You're learning something, bing. You're learning something, bing. You know what that does to your concentration and long-term memory? Wipes it out. I can show you study after study that distractions will make you dumber. Okay. And so if you really want to do well and remember stuff, remove distractions. That's number one. Learn how to breathe is another one, because most of you at the beginning of the semester, almost all of you were breathing like this. You were breathing from about here up. What's that mean? You're being chased by a freaking lion. Do you think you can learn anything when you're being chased by a lion? No. You need to learn how to breathe. Get the air down lower. Belly, like right before you go to sleep. When you're relaxed, you can retain. Okay. And I shouldn't have to be up here. I'm a computer science guy. I shouldn't have to teach you how to breathe. But when all my classes in the classroom are all breathing like they're going to be hit with something, there's a problem. Okay. It's like, okay, and the fastest way to reduce your heart rate is take a super deep breath. I mean, handle. And go as long as you can. And that forces your body into a parasympathetic response. When you're in a sympathetic response, you are terrified. You're amped. You're not going to learn anything, but you can run fast. When you're relaxed, you can understand. Rest and digest, they call it. Okay. So learning how to move in and out of these. Sometimes you want to get yourself amped up. Well, do that the other way. You make the inhale really short. You just reverse it. Okay. Okay. More than you care to know, right? All right. So stop recording.